Greetings again, everybody. It's time to play some more Demon's Crest, they say. So this here is the world map. We can fly across it and visit various locations here. Right now there's 4 gameplay areas open to us, but we just came from one of them, so well, let's just head for the one that's labeled 2, right? So this area we just entered is the only area we can also exit again by, well, heading back. And the exit, helpfully enough, is labeled exit. It's also pretty much the best area to grind for money, if you're so inclined. Just smash all those windows over and over, and destroy the pots with fireballs, or whatever you have. This is also the only town area in the game. This one screen, yeah. There's various, well, stores here. We can't enter them all yet, but this one we can enter. This is a magic store, and obviously we can buy magic here. We need 1 vellum for each spell we buy, and none of the spells are too useful. But hey, for now I think I'll just go with Shadow. As far as I'm aware, it does, like, you know, increase our defenses, but I never really noticed an effect, so I'm not too sure if it even does anything. But hey, I'm sure it has some use. So yeah, this guy obviously talks about us, but he doesn't recognize us because apparently we don't quite look as glorious as we once looked. Maybe one day we will regain our old form, who knows. For now though, we'll have to do with this. So during the game we will collect various crests. This is the Earth Crest, and this is what we look like when we equip it. We can dash. It destroys things. It's like a headbutt, only for foreground objects. And yeah, that guy who was leaning against the fountain we just destroyed, he will say something different for every gargoyle form we have. For now, let us proceed through the area, shall we? While this isn't necessarily the place you will go second, right after you're free to choose wherever to go, it certainly is designed to showcase what the ground gargoyle can do. Which is dash a lot and ram things. Well, actually ramming things to make them move is a thing you can only do in this screen here, so yeah. But you will be able to destroy various obstacles throughout the game using the ground gargoyle's dash. You might have noticed that ramming those fire-breathing statues actually produces platforms when they fall into the water. Well, this is kind of nice because in water we slowly and steadily die. It kind of makes sense because we can't swim in any of our forms and we are a fire-based individual, or in this case we are a ground-based thing that can't breathe underwater. So it works out. And hey, you will want to destroy all the skull piles, because there's a life up in one of them. And as I pointed out already, we will have to find them all, otherwise we won't be able to see the best ending of the game. If those zombie hands manage to grab you, a face will come from the ground and try to eat you, so it's probably in your best interest to avoid that. The ground gargoyle, by the way, is really strong. It has stronger attack than most other gargoyles, at least if you're on the ground. And look at that, a boss. And yeah, anyway, because the ground gargoyle does more damage when he's actually on the ground, which means not jumping or not hanging onto walls, I decided, hey, why not use him here against this boss, which is really tall and need to jump over him constantly, otherwise he will kill me. Yeah. Let's watch how that works out for me. So far, it looks like I'm very successful in dying. So yeah, even though the ground gargoyle does more damage against pretty much everything as long as it's on the ground, he isn't as mobile as the other gargoyles, or at least not as mobile as regular Firebrand. Because Firebrand can float and fly and stuff like this. It's much easier to avoid attacks, and you'll sometimes really need that extra mobility you get. Of course, at other times the extra damage might be nicer. Maybe we'll even see some of that in the video, who knows. Meanwhile, this guy here, he's called Belf. And while Belf isn't a particularly hard boss, he deals a lot of damage, and he's actually harder than the ones we faced so far, which makes sense considering that this is at least a little bit later into the game. But yeah, he deals a lot of damage, so avoid touching him at all costs. And you will need to move and fly over him quite a bit, because the arena is pretty small. Oh, this is one of those classic games, by the way, that remind us that our enemy is close to death by making him redder and redder with every hit, as soon as he's close enough to death anyway. But hey, even with one boss down, we're not done yet here, because every area has one main path and one hidden path. And guess what? This is the hidden path. Part of the fun, of course, comes from discovering it, and first time around when I played this, I didn't find it for some reason for quite a bit, even though it's fairly obvious. At least I think so now. But yeah, this part 2 is designed to encourage the use of the ground gargoyle, because those flames, guess what, they are immune to our fireballs, so yeah, there really isn't much of a reason for us to use Firebrand. Instead, the ground gargoyle is the way to go. And not just because of those. Because those crawling enemies, yeah, we will shoot our fireball straight over them. So the ground-based attack of the ground gargoyle is pretty much the way to go here. You're not forced to use the ground gargoyle though. You can just avoid all the enemies using Firebrand. But it's much more fun this way, trust me. The game sometimes forces us to use special abilities to proceed, and I have to say, I don't really like when games do this constantly, but I'm fine with it in this game. Of course, I say this right when we are required to use the ground gargoyle's dash to proceed. And now where we kind of sort of have to switch to Firebrand, because this room has a gimmick. You see those torches there? We can light them up, and after a while they will go out, and as you can see here, the room will go dark. And this is very bad because we won't be able to see where we go. However, nicely enough, the enemies will actually stay visible. Other hazards, like spikes though, they can't be seen in the dark. Of course, this is not the last time we'll see this darkness gimmick, and later on, trust me, it'll be much more annoying, because this time around, it's actually not as bad. The worst part is, well, the bats. But the bats being the worst enemies is kind of pretty common in video games anyway. But oh, let's not forget the ghosts. At this point, we can't really attack the ghosts with Firebrand because they're immune to the fireballs, so we need to switch to the ground gargoyle to actually damage them. But at least it's pretty much over now, because as you can imagine, it's not really fun to constantly enter a menu just to switch between forms to get through the area efficiently. But hey, look at this. A boss. And it's a giant freaking eyeball out of nowhere. Encased in goo. Lovely. Of course, this beginning here is kind of a dick move, because it will pretty much kill you if you forget to get up. And it might not be entirely obvious to you that you have to do that at first. And, believe it or not, but the ground gargoyle is actually, at least in my opinion, the best way to take care of that guy. Or at least it's the fastest way. Because, well, just watch. Yeah, when the ground gargoyle is standing on the ground, he does a lot more damage, so he'll take out those small eyes in just 2 hits. And as you can imagine, you need to destroy all the small ones before the big one will come out. So having a fast way of dispatching of them is pretty great. With Firebrand I think it'll be up to 4 hits, maybe only 3. I kinda forgot because I never do it with Firebrand anymore, because this is so much faster. I mean, yeah, just look at this. We're almost done with those small ones already. Of course you don't have a frame of reference for this because you've never seen it happen with Firebrand, but just trust me if I say that this is pretty fast. And also fairly easy to pull off. This big guy is called Nunu, by the way, and I don't think his name has any meaning at all. which sadly is kind of a recurring non-theme for bosses in this game, except for very few exceptions, like the Hippogriff, which is actually something that exists in folklore, and some less imaginatively named bosses later on. You'll know what I mean when we get to that. For now, it seems like the big guy wants to come out to play. Of course, fighting him with the ground gargoyle is a little bit more difficult, but we can take care of him rather quickly because as you can see... Yeah, as you can see, he's dead. That went faster than I expected. But of course, for killing him we get a rather nice reward. Just look at this sweet thing. So now we can already break all those blocks we couldn't break before. Let's check that out immediately. Ah, good old Buster works like a charm. So the deal here is that opposed to the ground crest and the other crests, which give us new forms, the pieces of fire crest give us new attack abilities. And yeah, this is the potion shop. We can buy various potions. Mercury will teleport us back to the beginning of the area, and Sulfur, which we're gonna buy here, is going to teleport us back to the world map. All the others though, they're just various healing potions. So of course we also have access to some parts of areas we couldn't visit before, so here's a Vellum. And we can also attack those crawlers with the Buster. And harm the fire. Isn't this nice? And a little further in we can break some more blocks with our nice new Buster to get, of course, a life up. And now there's nothing left for us to do here, so why not use our potion we bought to get out of here? Otherwise we would have had to go to where we fought the boss to automatically leave the area. You might remember that there was a thing we couldn't get in the first area, so let's check that out. I said that every area has a hidden path and a main path, but this life up here is actually the only reason for us to ever come back to this place, because there is no hidden path in the Colosseum. Anyway now, this is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope of course to see you again next time when we play some more Demon's Crest. See ya!